Bob is here, so that's good.
Hi, Bob.
And we are recording and live on YouTube.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, my name is Tracy Metzger, Chair of the Albany IDA Board. I would like to call our meeting to order. The first order of business is to approve our minutes that were previously distributed of our last meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I think Susan got it. Darius second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we've got a relatively short IDA agenda anyway. Mark, you want to set us up with the financial report, please?
Sure, Chair, thanks. So in front of you is the April monthly cash position report. As you can see, there was some modification fees or agency fees received in the month of April, as well as modification fees, the usual interest income, and the expenses were either approved in the 2021 budget or approved as program expenses later on in 2020 for 2021. So with that, we are projecting just shy of $3 million ending cash position of the IDA.
A nice number. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, with that, here we're going to have to flip through. Okay, I think we're now moving just on to other business agency updates, Sarah.
Sure, thanks, Chair. We have a couple of updates to bring to the group today to walk through. The first, I would make the board aware of legislation that's pending in front of the New York State Legislature right now. It passed the Senate yesterday and is moving on through the Assembly's process. It is a bill expanding the authority of the authority's budget office. We had talked through some of the details regarding that bill in previous meetings. That really does add some additional reporting measures. There are two pieces of that legislation that are particularly concerning. As we've discussed before, one of those is the measure that allows the ABO to pursue a perjury claim on those certifying the annual authorities budget office reports, our Paris report that we just got through in March. The challenge there is that, that is a 100+ page document. We do those for each of the authorities that we manage. And there's, because of the system in place for Paris reporting, there is substantial opportunity for input error. We've made those previously for sure. And it allows the ABO to really determine on their own whether or not those errors were made willingly, and then pursue perjury claims against officers of the agency. So that is personally concerning, but also agency-wide concerning. And it also, the second piece that is a challenge is that it enables the authorities budget office to dissolve public authorities if they are pursuing actions that the ABO does not deem to be within the purpose of the authority. An example here is that we do quite a bit of our work in multifamily residential. That has been something that has been called into question previously, and that has created just in the past 5 years more than $500 million of total investment. It's more than 2,000 construction jobs, more than 300 permanent jobs, converted vacant space all throughout the city. And had about a 50% affordable housing creation to market rate creation across the group. And we do those, it's strategic economic development here. So we're watching that bill closely. It could have direct impacts on the IDA, so be aware of that there. Beyond state legislation, we did receive the sort of final Hilton request. I think all of you have seen the letter that has come in from the Hilton. We also received a letter of support. Tracy and I received today a letter of support from the regional chamber for their request. That came in a little bit last minute for us for this meeting. So we're going to bring that back to you in June. The request hasn't changed substantially from what we had talked through with you all last fall, as this was presented to us previously. We're going to take the next few weeks to review any possibility of recent precedent that we can find, as we had talked through previously, the legality of our board taking them up on that request is of concern. So we're going to bring that back to you fully in June with an assessment of the current environment so that we can have a discussion at the board level on that. And then finally, the final piece of agency update here is we do report periodically on Capitalize Albany activity as the city's economic development organization and as part of the economic development support that the agency provides. I'll give you two quick pieces that are current and on the same timeline. The first is that the CFA process is open at the state now as of May 10th. So we are assessing that currently and starting the local review process and developing local projects. With that, we're coordinating directly with the city on municipal projects, as well as with the nonprofit and business community here in Albany to determine competitive projects going into this round. There are some new changes there. There's going to be a public presentation that is put on by CEG and the regional ESD office about the CFAs coming up probably in the first week of June. As soon as we know that, we'll get that out to the group as well to participate in. We'll be getting that out to the community, as Capitalize Albany always does as well. And then the second initiative is the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force that the mayor has convened here in Albany. That is a group of 41 community representatives. Tracy and I both sit on that task force directly, and we'll be determining an overall needs assessment based on COVID-19 impacts, as well as really an assessment recommendation of how the city can best determine impactful projects moving forward to use the ARP funds, the federal funds that are coming out for the response to the pandemic for that. So we are eyeballs deep in both of those initiatives right now, really strategic funding for impactful projects all across the board. Both of those initiatives will wrap up at the end of July. And so particularly for the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force, being able to get through that needs assessment and get to recommendations in that timeline is incredibly aggressive. And the staff at Capitalize Albany is managing that. And we are off to the races. Tracy, I don't know if you had anything to add from that one in particular.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, the time frame is very tight. Now, there is there a website, Sarah, that has all the information on it?
Thank you, Tracy. There is on the City of Albany website. There is, if you search for COVID-19 Recovery Task Force, there is a webpage dedicated to it. You can see all of the board members, as well as all of the presentations will be recorded and up there live. There will be survey opportunities as well throughout. You'll be able to follow and participate in that process through July.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be pretty intense to amass the data that's required, to develop programs. You know, some of my thoughts I was going to talk to Sarah with as well is using some of our existing programs. They worked. They might need to be tweaked, but all of your input is necessary and very important. Even if you just have ideas with no backup, that's okay. We'll take ideas for sure. So thank you. And then Sarah, just
Darius, sorry too.
Yeah. No,
sorry, I saw Darius chime in, and he's also sitting on that task force.
Oh, let's not forget Darius.
I'm sorry.
Darius, you want to add anything? Yes.
Well, I would actually concur in what you're saying, is that I think necessarily we're going to have to utilize the structures that are already in place to, evaluate ideas, projects, and to dispense the money that would be available through the city. Because I don't think the city can just do something like this on its own without massively upscaling our own infrastructure, which I don't think we can do in a short time period. And this is a relatively short time period, not just for the work of this committee, but even it's a short time period for the expenditure of the funds. We have to do it by 2024, the end of 2024.
Right. Well, we've got $80 million to spend. That's the good news. Just gotta figure out how to do it.
It'll be
and no shortage of things to spend it on.
it'll be significantly reduced by what the city makes up for its losses in revenue. But outside of that, yes. And we're also the other thing is we also have to take into account the other pots of money that are out there for relief. Essentially, there's separate arts funding, there's separate restaurant funding, there's
Absolutely.
separate infrastructure funding. So.
Yeah, there can be some crossover there. So the question sometimes is, which pot do you want to draw from for a specific, program? And again, I think that's very much a challenge in a short time frame. But we've got great leadership. Jaqueen is actually co-chair, and Tom Whalen on that task force. And I know everybody's just got their heads down and really focused. It's an opportunity to make transformational changes, quite honestly, big impact in just a couple of years. So we may not see this again in quite some time. So thank you. I just wanted to make a comment back on the Hilton. So we're going to be discussing that. I just want to confirm we're going to be discussing that further at the Finance Committee meeting.
Correct.
Before the June, board meeting. And if anybody has any questions prior to that, please feel free to reach out. It's just something that we've obviously got to, we need to respond to and be informed around it as well. So with that, Sarah, do you have anything else?
That's it under agency update.
Okay, are we ready to adjourn?
We're ready to move in a compliance update. We do have.
We were going to skip that. No.
Speaking of regulations and compliance, we are on.
Compliance
exactly. Update. We'll move there. We're bringing you back a little bit of our discussion on the 2020 annual reporting and following up on a number of matters there. And I don't know, Tom, am I kicking it over to you or to?
Sure, I'm happy to take this. So as part of our annual jobs reporting this year, we did have 2 projects which did not complete the required reporting, and those are 960 Broadway and the Nipper Apartments. So we do want to talk through with the group just sort of possible next steps. We do today have Christian Soller from Hudson Russ, who is available to talk through, what those different paths could look like with the board. This would be, as I learned from our board member training, I believe this may be an exempt session, Joe, right, for to seek the guidance of council, if that's what the board would like to do.
Correct. That's right. So we could go offline, if you will, go to a situation similar to executive session, but correct, Tom.
I think that's important. We need some advice from council for sure. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Darius. A second?
Yeah.
Is that Lee? Thank
Yep.
you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll move to executive session, please.
Okay, we're on video now. And I think you're on. We're on yours. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're okay. Okay.
Cool. Thanks for. Yeah.
Did everyone make it back? Okay, so as a result of compliance update discussion that took place in executive session, the board would now like to take action on a resolution that will be presented by Lee Eck.
I'd like to make a motion that the council investigates and continues with the clawback provisions listed in our documentation. Is that a good motion?
Against,
Against the Nipper LLC and 960 Broadway.
thank you,
Second.
Lee. There's a second by Susan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Sarah, any other business?
I believe that's it for other business today.
Thank
Chair-
you.
Chair,
Susan?
quick question.
Sure.
Sarah, any updates on Central Warehouse and the auctioning of that property?
Oh, sure. I can give a quick, just very overview of what we know to date. It is public that there is a sealed bid auction process pending at the county level for the Central Warehouse building. We do believe that there's probably some interest in that. We'll see. Comes back. The county is driving that process and anticipates to be reviewing those this summer.
Thank you.
You know, that happened very quickly.
Yeah.
It's not really an auction per se. It's more kind of a request for proposals is the way I'm reading it, because they don't have title and they haven't moved to take title to the property yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, you know, Darius. I think the challenge is who can put costs together
Yeah.
in 2 months time frame. I mean, I'm ecstatic. I certainly hope that property gets into the right hands, if you will, and with the right use, unless it's demolished, which is, I think, unlikely. But
A lot of money.
a lot of money, didn't give anybody any time to do their homework.
But
But
it would cost $5 to $10 million to tear it down, I think.
Yeah.
Those were preliminary estimates, but what I do appreciate about the process is, despite it being quick, my understanding is that it does involve, because they don't have title yet, it does involve really looking at what the proposal is as opposed to just a dollar amount, so that we're not sort of in this cycle of owners taking the property and then not being able to do anything with them over time. So I'm looking forward to the county's thoughtful review of what they receive back from those.
Same for me. Okay, with that, did we adjourn? Do we have a motion?
I moved.
Darius, Lee second.